Hello, it is Shelsacia giving you a movie review 4 months late, because that's how I do things. This is an analysis of The Missing Link by Laika, and why it sucked. Spoiler alert, it's the characters. I'd like to start this out by saying that I am a huge Laika fan. Coraline, Paranorman, the Box Trolls, Kubo and the Two Strings, loved them, all for different reasons. While I can honestly say that Paranorman is my favorite of these four, they all have interesting plots, interesting characters, and animation that only gets better with each additional movie. So, when I saw the trailers for The Missing Link, I was excited. I love the buddy film genre, friendship movies in general, and I absolutely love Laika. There was no way I wouldn't like this movie, or so I thought. And then I finally watched it. I found myself heavily disliking it, and the only reason I finished this movie was because I had some hope that it would get better. It didn't. The premise of The Missing Link is a decent one. A 19th century explorer helps a last-of-his-kind Sasquatch travel from the United States to the Himalayas to connect with his relative Yetis. The explorer is named Lionel Frost and just wants to be admitted to an adventurers club. The Sasquatch names himself Susan and just wants to belong among his own kind. They also team up with Frost's old lover, Adelina, who mostly just wants adventure. As character motivations go, these aren't bad. But while these characters have been written with good motivations, they've also been written with bland and sometimes awful personalities. Because yes, while this movie has a good premise, a plot that keeps moving along well enough, and absolutely spectacular animation, this movie's real problem is the characters. So let's go in order. Lionel Frost is, simply put it, a jerk. He's the typical British scientist/explorer archetype who's a major douche from the first assistant we see him with at the beginning, and then a douche to Susan throughout the entire film. He's selfish. He always thinks of himself before the other characters, and while usually this would be a serviceable character flaw, it falls apart because he never feels remorse for it, ever, until Adelina prods him multiple times into seeing things from another point of view. That maybe his goals aren't the end-all be-all of everything as he thinks they are. And when he finally does get there, it's the end of the movie, and we don't get to appreciate this change at all. He claims to be friends with Susan in an inspirational speech at the end, but because he was such a jerk up until the last moment when he was coerced into not being a jerk, it comes off as unearned. Adelina is a slightly better character. Does having her in the movie kind of ruin the buddy film aspect? Yeah. Is she totally a scorned Latina stereotype? Also, yeah. Adelina's problem is that she spends most of the movie alternating between three roles: badass, damsel in distress, and Lionel Frost's moral compass. Badass mode is the most interesting of these three, but that's not to credit the character's personality so much that badass mode is always accompanied by a good action sequence, which I love. The worst of these modes is moral compass, because having one character have to remind another how to be a decent human being makes neither of them all that likable. Susan, the Sasquatch, is an okay character. The main issue with him is that his character is meant to be comedic because he takes everything literally, but except in one or two moments, he's not that funny. He's just really annoying. He does have the most realistic characterization out of anyone in the film, which is again a low bar and not saying much. And I couldn't get through this review, however, without mentioning the villain, Lord Pigott Dunsby. I'm totally not pronouncing that right, but the guy sucks, so I'm not gonna try. Pigott Dunsby leads the Adventurers Club Frost wants to join, and man is this guy a jerk. And a sexist bigot who doesn't believe in science and doesn't like suffrage, even though he doesn't believe in Frost's ability to prove the existence of a Sasquatch. He hires a thug to kill him anyway, for some reason. I guess he likes wasting money or something. How this guy is claiming the moral high ground is super confusing. My issue with this guy isn't as much of how much of a jerk he is, because he is the bad guy. It's how awful of a bad guy he is in Laika's lineup of decent to good bad guys. Think of the other Laika bad guys. They've all got something worth watching about them. The other mother was delightfully creepy and manipulative. The Snatcher and the Box Trolls had a relatable desperation. The Moon King was interesting not because he was evil, but because he was unfeeling. Laika's best antagonists come from Paranorman, where they aren't even quote-unquote bad people at all, just normal people who have made truly awful choices, demonstrating that you don't have to be evil to do evil things. But not this guy, not Lord Teggett Dunsby. How dare anyone want to believe in something different than me? Bah humbug, women exist. I'm going to get so angry I self-destruct. Which, side note, is also a problem with the plot, because it's way less interesting when the good guys only get out of a situation because of a crazy mistake of a bad guy instead of any real ingenuity on their part. This guy has no motivation outside of being a bigot, which he also has no motivation for either, which makes him an uninteresting, unlikable, irredeemable bad guy. And a bad guy. If this were a kids movie from some other studio, whatever. We're all used to kids movies just turning out flat, one-dimensional, annoying characters. But this is from Laika, from a good premise, which just makes the missing link the missed opportunity. Thanks for watching.